Shogi, also known as Japanese chess or the general's game, is a two-player strategy board game in the same family as Western chess, chaturanga, makruk, shatranj and xiangqi, and is the most popular of a family of chess variants native to Japan. Shogi means general's board game. The earliest predecessor of the game of chaturanga originated in India in the 6th century. And sometime in the 10th to 12th centuries xiangqi was brought to Japan, where it spawned a number of variants. Shogi in its present form was played as early as the 16th century, while a direct ancestor without the drop rule was recorded from 1210 in a historical document Nishoriki, which is an edited copy of Shoshoriki and Kaichoriki from the late Heian period. According to the chess variant pages, perhaps the enduring popularity of shogi can be attributed to its drop rule. It was the first chess variant wherein captured pieces could be returned to the board to be used as one's own. David Pritchard credits the drop rule to the practice of 16th-century mercenaries who switched loyalties when captured, no doubt as an alternative to execution. Equipment. Two players, sont and goat, play on a board composed of rectangles in a grid of 9 ranks by 9 files. The rectangles are undifferentiated by marking or color. The board is nearly always rectangular. Square boards are uncommon. Pairs of dots mark the player's promotion zones. Each player has a set of 20 wedge-shaped pieces of slightly different sizes. Except for the kings, opposing pieces are undifferentiated by marking or color. Pieces face forward. This shows who controls the piece during play. The pieces from largest to smallest are 1 king, 1 rook, 1 bishop, 2 gold generals, 2 silver generals, 2 knights, 2 lances, 9 pawns. Several of these names were chosen to correspond to their rough equivalents in international chess, and not as literal translations of the Japanese names. Each piece has its name written on its surface in the form of 2 kanji, usually in black ink. On the reverse side of each piece, other than the king and gold general, are 1 or 2 other characters. In amateur sets often in a different color, this side is turned face up during play to indicate that the piece has been promoted. The suggestion that the Japanese characters have deterred Western players from learning shogi has led to westernized, or international, pieces, which use iconic symbols instead of characters. Most players soon learn to recognize the characters, however, partially because the traditional pieces are already iconic by size, with more powerful pieces being larger. As a result, westernized pieces have never become popular. Bilingual pieces with both Japanese characters and English captions have been developed. Following is a table of the pieces with their Japanese representations and English equivalents. The abbreviations are used for game notation and often when referring to the pieces in speech in Japanese. Asterisk. The kanji is a simplified form of. English speakers sometimes refer to promoted bishops as horses and promoted rooks as dragons, after their Japanese names, and generally use the Japanese term takin for promoted pawns. Silver generals and gold generals are commonly referred to simply as silvers and golds. The characters inscribed on the reverse sides of the pieces to indicate promotion may be in red ink, and are usually cursive. The characters on the backs of the pieces that promote to gold generals are cursive variants of gold, becoming more cursive as the value of the original piece decreases. These cursive forms have these equivalents in print. For promoted silver, for promoted knight, for promoted lance, and for promoted pawn. Another typographic convention has abbreviated versions of the original values, with a reduced number of strokes. For a promoted knight, for a promoted lance, and the as above for a promoted silver, but for takin. Setup and gameplay. Each player sets up his pieces facing forward. In the rank nearest the player, the king is placed in the center file, the 2 gold generals are placed in files adjacent to the king, the 2 silver generals are placed adjacent to each gold general, the 2 knights are placed adjacent to each silver general, the 2 lances are placed in the corners, adjacent to each knight. that is, the first rank is or in the second rank. Each player places the bishop in the same file as the left knight, the rook in the same file as the right knight. In the third rank, the 9 pawns are placed one per file. Traditionally, even the order of placing the pieces on the board is determined. There are two commonly used orders, ōashi and ito. Placement sets pieces with multiples from left to right in all cases, and follows the order: king, gold generals, silver generals, knights. In ito, the player now places 5 pawns 6, lances 7, bishop 8, rook. In ōashi, the player now places 5 lances 6, bishop 7, rook 8, pawns. One player takes black and moves first, then players alternate turns. For each turn a player may either move a piece that is currently on the board or else drop a piece that has been previously captured onto an empty square of the board. These options are explained below. Professional games are timed as in international chess, but professionals are never expected to keep time in their games. Instead, a timekeeper is assigned, typically an apprentice professional. Time limits are much longer than in international chess, and in addition byo-yomi is employed. This means that when the ordinary time has run out, the player will from that point on have a certain amount of time to complete every move, typically upwards of 1 minute. The final 10 seconds are counted down, and if the time expires, the player to move loses the game immediately. Amateurs often play with electronic clocks that beep out the final 10 seconds of a byo-yomi period, with a prolonged beep for the last 5. An illegal move results in an immediate loss of the game in professional and tournament shogi, even if play continued and the move was discovered later in game. However, if neither opposition nor third party points out, and the opposition later resigned, the resignation stands as the result. Rules. Movement. Most shogi pieces can move only to an adjacent square. A few may move across the board, and one jumps over intervening pieces. Shogi pieces capture the same as they move. Every piece blocks the movement of all other non-jumping pieces through the square it occupies. If a piece occupies a legal destination for an opposing piece, it may be captured by removing it from the board and replacing it with the opposing piece. The capturing piece may not continue beyond that square on that turn. It is common to keep captured pieces on a wooden stand which is traditionally placed so that its bottom left corner aligns with the bottom right corner of the board from the perspective of each player. It is not permissible to hide pieces from full view. This is because captured pieces, which are said to be pieces in hand, have a crucial impact on the course of the game. The knight jumps, that is, it passes over any intervening piece, whether friend or foe, without an effect on either. It is the only piece to do this. The lance, bishop, and rook are ranging pieces. They can move any number of squares along a straight line limited only by intervening pieces and the edge of the board. If an opposing piece intervenes, it may be captured by removing it from the board and replacing it with the moving piece. If a friendly piece intervenes, the moving piece must stop short of that square. If the friendly piece is adjacent, the moving piece may not move in that direction at all. All pieces but the knight move either horizontally, vertically, or diagonally. These directions cannot be combined in a single move. One direction must be chosen. Normally when moving a piece, a player snaps it to the board with the ends of the fingers of the same hand. This makes a sudden sound effect, bringing the piece to the attention of the opponent. This is also true for capturing and dropping pieces. On a traditional shogi ban, the pitch of the snap is deeper, delivering a subtler effect. A king moves one square in any direction, orthogonal or diagonal. Rook moves any number of squares in an orthogonal direction. A bishop moves any number of squares in a diagonal direction. Because they cannot move orthogonally, the player's unpromoted bishops can reach only half the squares of the board, unless one is captured and then dropped. Gold general. A gold general moves one square orthogonally, or one square diagonally forward, giving it 6 possible destinations. It cannot move diagonally backwards. Silver general. A silver general moves 1 square diagonally, or 1 square straight forward, giving it 5 possible destinations. Because an unpromoted silver can retreat more easily than a promoted one, it is common to leave a silver unpromoted at the far side of the board. Knight. A knight jumps at an angle intermediate to orthogonal and diagonal, amounting to 1 square straight forward plus 1 square diagonally forward, in a single move. Thus the knight has 2 possible forward destinations. The knight cannot move to the sides or in a backwards direction. The knight is the only piece that ignores intervening pieces on the way to its destination. It is not blocked from moving if the square in front of it is occupied, but neither can it capture a piece on that square. It is often useful to leave a knight unpromoted at the far side of the board. A knight must promote, however, if it reaches either of the 2 furthest ranks. Lance. A lance moves any number of squares directly forward. It cannot move backwards or to the sides. It is often useful to leave a lance unpromoted at the far side of the board. A lance must promote, however, if it arrives at the furthest rank. Pawn. A pawn moves 1 square straight forward. It cannot retreat. Unlike international chess pawns, shogi pawns capture the same as they move. A pawn must promote if it arrives at the furthest rank. In practice, however, a pawn is usually promoted whenever possible. There are 2 restrictions on where a pawn may be dropped. Promotion. A player's promotion zone consists of the furthest 1/3 of the board, the 3 ranks occupied by the opponent's pieces at setup. The zone is typically delineated on shogi boards by 2 inscribed dots. When a piece is moved, if part of the piece's path lies within the promotion zone, then the player has the option to promote the piece at the end of the turn. Promotion is indicated by turning the piece over after it moves, revealing the character of the promoted piece. If a pawn or lance is moved to the furthest rank, or a knight is moved to either of the 2 furthest ranks, that piece must promote. A silver general is never required to promote, and it is often advantageous to keep a silver general unpromoted. Promoting a piece changes the way it moves. The various pieces promote as follows. A silver general, knight, lance, or pawn has its normal power of movement replaced by that of a gold general. A rook or bishop keeps its original movement and gains the power to move 1 square in any direction. For a promoted bishop, this means it is able to reach any square on the board, given enough moves. A king or a gold general does not promote, nor can a piece that is already promoted. When captured, a piece loses its promoted status. Otherwise, promotion is permanent. Promoted rook. A promoted rook moves as a rook or as a king, but not as both on the same turn. Promoted bishop. A promoted bishop moves as a bishop or as a king, but not as both on the same turn. Promoted silver. A promoted silver moves the same as a gold general. Promoted knight. A promoted knight moves the same as a gold general. Promoted lance. A promoted lance moves the same as a gold general. Promoted pawn. A promoted pawn moves the same as a gold general. Drops. Captured pieces are retained in hand, and can be brought back into play under the capturing player's control. On any turn, instead of moving a piece on the board, a player may select a piece in hand and place it, unpromoted side up and facing the opposing side, on any empty square. The piece is then one of that player's active pieces on the board and can be moved accordingly. This is called dropping the piece, or simply, a drop. A drop counts as a complete move. A drop cannot capture a piece, nor does dropping within the promotion zone result in immediate promotion. Capture or promotion may occur normally, however, on subsequent moves of the piece. A pawn, knight, or lance may not be dropped on the furthest rank, since those pieces would have no legal moves on subsequent turns. For the same reason, a knight may not be dropped on the penultimate rank. There are 2 additional restrictions when dropping pawns. Nifu. A pawn cannot be dropped onto a file containing another unpromoted pawn of the same player. A player with an unpromoted pawn on every file is therefore unable to drop a pawn anywhere. For this reason it is common to sacrifice a pawn in order to gain flexibility for drops. Attribution. A pawn cannot be dropped to give an immediate checkmate. A pawn may, however, be dropped to give immediate check. It is common for players to swap bishops, which oppose each other across the board, early in the game. This leaves each player with a bishop in hand to be dropped later. The ability for drops in shogi give the game tactical richness and complexity. The fact that no piece ever goes entirely out of play accounts for the rarity of draws. Winning when a player's move threatens to capture the opposing king on the next turn. The move is said to give check to the king. The king is said to be in check. If a player's king is in check, that player's responding move must remove the check if possible. If no such move exists, the checking move is also checkmate and immediately wins the game. The losing player should resign out of courtesy at this point, although in practice this rarely occurs, as players normally resign as soon as a loss is deemed inevitable. To announce check in Japanese, one says out. This is an influence of international chess and is not required, however, even as a courtesy. In professional and serious amateur games, a player who makes an illegal move loses immediately. There are two other possible, if uncommon, ways for a game to end: repetition and impasse. Repetition. If the same game position occurs 4 times with the same player to move, either player loses if his or her moves during the repetition are all checks, otherwise the game is considered a draw. For 2 positions to be considered the same, the pieces in hand must be the same as well as the positions on the board. The rule used to be that it happened if a sequence caused 3 repetitions. Impasse. The game reaches an impasse if both kings have advanced into their respective promotion zones and neither player can hope to mate the other or to gain any further material. If this happens, the winner is decided as follows. Each rook or bishop, promoted or not, scores 5 points for the owning player, and all other pieces except kings score 1 point each. A player scoring fewer than 24 points loses. Shogi is considered an outcome in its own right rather than no contest, but there is no practical difference. In amateur games other rules for Shogi can be applied. As this impasse generally needs to be agreed on for the rule to be invoked, a player may refuse to do so, on the grounds that the player could gain further material or position before an outcome has to be decided. If that happens, one player may force Shogi upon getting his king and all his pieces protected in the promotion zone. In professional tournaments the rules typically require drawn games to be replayed with colors reversed, possibly with reduced time limits. This is rare compared to chess and xiangqi, occurring at a rate of 1 to 2% even in amateur games. The 1982 Meijin title match between Makoto Nakahara and Hifumi Kato was unusual in this regard, with Shogi in the first game, a game which lasted for 223 moves, with 114 minutes spent pondering a single move, and Senikite in the 6th and 8th games. Thus this best-of-7 match lasted 8 games and took over 3 months to finish. Black did not lose a single game and the eventual victor was Kato at 4-3. Player rank and handicaps. Amateur players are ranked from 15Q to 1Q and then from 1 Dan and to 8 Dan. Amateur 8 Dan was only honorarily given to famous people. It's now possible to win amateur 8 Dan by actual strength. This has yet to be achieved. Professional players operate with their own scale, from 6Q to 3 Dan for pro aspiring players and professional 4 Dan to 9 Dan for formal professional players. Amateur and professional ranks are offset. Games between players of disparate strengths are often played with handicaps. In a handicap game, one or more of white's pieces are removed from the setup, and in exchange white plays first. Note that the missing pieces are not available for drops and play no further part in the game. The imbalance created by this method of handicapping is not as strong as it is in international chess because material advantage is not as powerful. In shogi, common handicaps, in increasing order of severity, include the following: left lance, bishop, rook, rook and left lance, 2 pieces, rook and bishop, 4 pieces, rook bishop, and both lances. 6 pieces. Rook bishop, both lances and both knights. Other handicaps are also occasionally used, especially when teaching the game to new players. The relationship between handicaps and differences in rank is not universally agreed upon, with several systems in use. If a Shogi occurs in a handicap game, the removed pieces are counted towards white's total.